is self-supporting. It's not only the radio 24 hours a day, it's El Herald. It's the fact that if you can't speak Spanish, you can't get an entry-level job. It is a emphasis on trade with Latin and South America. They're not council people. I think they're called commissioners of Dade County. Mr. Valdez down there even goes so far as to say that if you are against this referendum that the politicians have passed up on and are now going to foist upon the public of Miami in the Super Tuesday primary, that if you're against that, you're a racist. So I think Miami is destined to become a Quebec of the United States.
You unfortunately may really be quite correct on that. I love Miami. I love the Hispanic flavor in Miami. I wouldn't mind living in that area again, with all of the problems and complications in life that it brings, and it brings lots of problems and complications. But to continue to encourage people to not become full American citizens, to not assimilate into society, which is what we do with the broadcast, and it's what we would do if indeed they repeal the bilingual ordinance in Dade County. We would be encouraging these people even further to become a separate little nation unto themselves. And you're quite right on the analogy between Quebec.
Oh, I think I'm dead on. I think it's their full intent, because at one time, and I hear so many callers saying that I'm from Norway or I'm from wherever. I was born in a foreign country myself, Scotland, but we spoke English with an accent, so I didn't have too much trouble. But down there, I think their intent is to make it a self-existing area. Do you follow what I mean?
Oh, I certainly do.
Because if you're German and you move to New York or somewhere, you can join the German-American Club or whatever, but you can't exist in the flow of life. But I think Miami's destiny is to be an enclave of Spanish-only speaking people.
And it's such a tragedy for the middle class and the lower middle class people in that area, because, if you're reasonably wealthy, you shop at the better stores, and they're quite bilingual there, quite bilingual. It's never a problem, or you can easily afford to move into Broward or whatever it might be. You're mobile. You're not trapped.
Yeah, you can get up to Boca or something like that.
Well, you don't even have to go that far.
Well, they are now. Fort Lauderdale's even beginning to feel some pinches, but...
But the lower class people, they're doomed.
Oh, they're doomed.
They can't get out.
You know who's really doomed? Unfortunately, the black Native Americans have really taken the pipe down there, because they're really at the bottom end.
Mm-hmm.
They're really out of it. So I think you're going to see it, and I agree with you 100%. I don't know if it's going to take 3, 4, 5 years, but I'll bet you a dinner that on March 8th, in that referendum, that it passes. And talking about tax dollars, we're going to have to pay for the publication of state literature in 2 languages, and also governmental literature, any government literature.
Well, again,
There's a fiasco.
Until quite recently, I had been very, very sympathetic. I mean, I even had some great arguments. For example, with a driver's license. What do you want? Some jerk out there who doesn't have a license, who has no idea what the laws are? Or do you want a guy that at least read them in Spanish? You can make some good arguments for some of the bilingual effort. But overall, no, it's gone too far. It's time to put the foot down. It's time to say enough is enough, no more.
And the problem, too, Bob, and I'll finish on this, is I was in the same boat as you. However, the leaders of the Spanish community are adamant, and I don't particularly kowtow or care for this adamancy, if that's such a word, of their insisting upon, and that their people are slighted by the fact that they can't be accommodated in their native language in the United States of America.
One of the most ludicrous things I saw when I was down in Miami about 6 weeks ago, the Miami Herald English edition with Spanish ads in it.
Oh, I know.
That's insane. If you can read the damn news in English, you can read the ads in English.
Well, we're giving it up, and turn the lights out in Miami and bring the flag home.
Thank you much.
Okay, Bob.
CBS News coming your way. 2 hours yet to go, please. Whatever you do, don't venture very far.
you young men don't know what a thrill it is for me to be up here this afternoon addressing you. We want all you Cub Scouts to know that you should pick your own leader, who can be like myself, either a male or female, or a combination of both.
7 minutes after the hour of 9 o'clock. Welcome back, hour number 2 for this Thursday night, July the 30th, 1987. Lassiter back in rare form. Actually, it's the same form I had when I left here before, but that's neither here nor there. With you until 11, and you know the rest of the story. Of course, this coming Saturday, 9 in the morning until noon. Oh, my God. Always. Saturday mornings when I do them always make broadcast history. Back to the phones we go. It's an open program. Hi, Venice. You're on the air at WPLP.
Hi, Bob.
Hi.
I've had a really bad day today.
You too, huh?
Yeah. There's a bunch of things I want to say to you, and I'll try to say them quickly because I'm calling long distance. First of all, you sound like a guy who's tall and thin and devastatingly good-looking.
Tall, fat, and devastatingly good-looking.
Well, see, I was surprised to hear that. I just found that out tonight, that you have a weight problem. And I really was surprised.
No, I don't have a weight problem. The people that look at me have a weight problem.
Okay.
With my weight.
I would, you know, beauty is in the eye, right?
Or in the rolls.
Yeah, right. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. I have a little bit of a tip for losing weight, but I'm sure a bunch of people do too. I just lost 60 pounds myself.
Oh, lay it on me, lady.
Well, I had a baby.
Oh.
That did it.
That's going a little bit too far.
I know. I figured...
I mean, all those shirts I'd love to get into again, but no, not that far.
Okay, never mind about that. I'll tell you what helped, though. After the 15 pounds of the baby left and they still had 45 to go, I gave up red meat. For the first time in my
couldn't
whole
I give
life.
up sex instead? Red meat. I love dead cow.
Who?
Dead cow.
Dead cow.
Yeah, it's my favorite food.
Yeah, I know. It always was mine, too. You know, I never could wait to go to a place, that served a good queen or king-size prime rib, you know. Well, I'm going to tell you what. I gave it up for the pathetic chicken, turkey, and fish routine, and thanks to that, I'm down to 122 pounds.
Fantastic.
Yeah. And also working out at the Y helped too. Anyway, that's.
Well, I've got one of those Solaflex machines. I bought it from Fowler. It's out in the garage where
What's
at
that?
least Solaflex. It's kind of like a Nautilus machine for the purposes of this conversation. And it's out in the garage where it's at least 125 degrees, and I go out there and I work out almost every day for about a half an hour. And it's just not doing any good. I'm not getting any thinner. I'm not getting any lighter. I'm not getting any stronger. I'm not getting any firmer.
Yeah, but what are you eating, dear heart?
Well, just hardly enough to keep a bird alive.
Yeah, I bet, a bird
ostrich.
10 times their own weight every day. You know that, don't you? Anyway, cut out the red meat for a while. Give it 2 or 3 months and see what happens. And, try walking around in our lovely Florida summer, strolling around.
What are you, crazy, lady? Walk around in this stuff?
Yeah, I am crazy, aren't I?
I take a cab to get to the car.
Listen, I want to talk to you about more important things.
What's that?
All right. First of all, this afternoon, I had such a bad day with both of my kids that both of them are sick. I missed the news completely today. I missed talk radio, except for a little bit today while I was in the car escorting one of them to and from the doctors. I did hear one talk show host talk to a caller who said that there had been rumors as to why you were absent for the past few days, and someone suggested it was everywhere from either a nervous breakdown to the green apple quick step. I was glad to hear that you had neither one of those two things.
Well, it was closer to the green apple quick step.
Is that what furniture does to you?
Well, the furniture had nothing to do with it. It actually started slightly before the furniture arrived. The furniture didn't arrive until late yesterday afternoon.
Okay. Well, I hope you're feeling... Listen, the Green Apple Quick Step can help you in your weight loss. But
I'd never heard of that before, but I knew instantly what you meant.
Okay.
I've never heard that phrase before, but I knew.
Really? Well, that's what what's-his-face used right before you come on. I can't remember his name. Jack?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, Jack said that may be what your problem was, but he didn't know either, and he wasn't going to venture a guess. But
wishful thinking on his part.
Yeah, well, he was assuring a caller that you did not have a nervous breakdown. The other thing, I did not know that people in California were taking pot shots at other people.
It's been going on now for almost 2 weeks. It's up over a dozen incidents now.
Now, I've been reading my local Sarasota Herald Tribune, and now I'm okay,
Well, you're still reading about the Second World War then. We won, by the way.
You're gonna get more angry callers, I guess, because of this. But they try to keep current, and I try to listen to national news. Now, where have I been? What have I missed? I can't believe that I haven't heard about this. I've heard about all those other ugly things. The guy in the Panhandle of Florida, St. Joe, who went and shot his
the judge and his wife.
All that stuff. Yeah, I heard about that, but. I'm going to tell you something. I've always been a gun advocate. I've always been, believe it or not, this may make you not like me anymore, but up until about 2 years ago, I was an NRA member.
Mm-hmm.
I took a police gun course at one point in my life and learned how to use a handgun responsibly and felt as though living in Atlanta at the time, it was kind of necessary for me to have some sort of protection and know how to use it.
I understand that.
Okay. But I'm starting to feel as though, I don't know what the answer is, but I would like to see the guns taken away from the criminals and put into the hands of the honest people.
Well, I'm not nearly as worried about the guns in the hands of the criminals, since there's virtually nothing we can do about that. I'm worried about guns in the hands of emotionally unstable, honest people.
I agree with that, too. Now, what are you going to do when you license... let's say every state passes, or let's say the country as a whole passes a federal law where all you have to do is go to, some certain precinct and, you'll be given a federal test and you will be fingerprinted and the FBI will have you and all that. What kind of test are they going to possibly give you that will determine your sanity or your ability to not to blow it under pressure? I don't understand that, and I think that's something we need to think about.
Well, it's a very valid question, and there isn't a nice, easy answer to give you, and most of the answers that I would give you are probably things that I would object to anyway. For example, doing what they do when you apply for insurance, perhaps, checking with your neighbors.
Right.
About the best way that I might suggest, and this is not going to be 100% foolproof by any stretch of the imagination, but it would help to a degree. Just simply checking the police files. Let's see if there have been a number of domestic disturbance calls at your address in the last 5 years. Let's see if you've been involved in a barroom brawl. Let's see if you punched out somebody because they took your parking space. That type of thing. And maybe that would only get 10, 15, 20% at best of the emotion. Exactly. And I just might be the one that 10, 15, or 20% would keep alive. And you might be, too. I think, I may be wrong, but I think that they do some of that type of research in the state of Georgia. Well, there are many states that do. Yeah. They typically ask if you have any felony convictions and, if you've ever had to go into a drug rehab program, or, things of that sort. I know because I took the test to get a permit to carry a concealed weapon there. I think that's a good idea because what we're talking about is something that's extremely deadly. But still there's going to be underground or black market handguns, and anybody who wants one can always get one. A disgruntled husband or wife can go ahead and get one black market and blow away the judge anyway. Legal or not legal. Well, you say that, and that's probably true to a degree, but let's be honest. When you talk about that black market, that underground, you're talking about very seedy neighborhoods, and most of us mere mortals, who drive Volvos and all that kind of good stuff and belong to the golf club, most of us mere mortals, if we went into those neighborhoods to buy a gun, would end up getting robbed and wouldn't get the gun. in that underground that you're speaking of.
That's true. That's probably true. That would keep most of us away from that type of activity. About cars, how do you feel about Volvos?
I've owned 3 of them. I love them, but I won't buy one again.
Why?
Because I'm trying to be a good American.
Oh.
You wouldn't believe the hassle I had with my wife in buying an American car.
What did you buy?
A Ford. And I'm happy with it. Even though I just had a major problem with it, I'm willing to concede that such things happen. And, I had major problems with my Volvos, too. It's the kind of world we live in. The automobile is so complex these days that things occasionally happen.
Yeah, it is.
But I try very, very hard to buy American cars because, for a lot of reasons, even if I wasn't in this business, I would probably still try to do it. But especially, when I sit here and try to tell other people how they might consider leading their lives, then I've got to set an example myself. And while it kills me to no longer have a Volvo, I love them, I will never buy one again.
I was thinking because I have 2 small children that my next car should be a Volvo because of the safety factor.
Safety factor, and they're very simple automobiles. They're very simple cars. Not much goes wrong with them.
Yeah. That's what I've heard, if you can afford the price tag. I understand that they vary quite a bit from the basic model up to plush. So maybe there is a model in there for me at some point.
Well, the one that I had was in the middle, and I bought it 4.5 years ago. It cost just under $17,000 at that time, and my understanding is that now a comparable model would be about $23,000. That's a lot of money.
Yeah, my husband works for an American company that has offices worldwide, and he's in sales, so he's furnished with a company vehicle, and they've typically told him to restrict his choices every time vehicles need to be retired to either Chevys or Fords. So we've been through our numbers of Chevys and our numbers of Fords, and for our own personal vehicle, I chose the new Chevy Nova, the Toyota and GM joint venture.
Uh-huh.
Been very happy with it. I bought it in January of '86. Now, I must admit, this is a car that only runs down to Publix to play Wheel of Fortune and back, okay? This is a car that has only
Monday through Friday, of course.
Right.
Never on Saturday.
It goes nowhere. But we really have had a lot of luck with it. I don't think that it's the safest car to go cross country in, but I think it's a nice car. Wait a minute. I want to talk about the Pope briefly.
Okay, because I do have to move along.
Okay. I'm not an agnostic, but I do not belong to a church. But I do believe in God. I guess I am a Christian. Yeah, I am a Christian. But I do have a big problem with the Pope, as you do, but for different reasons, because I'm not exactly a feminist, but the Pope is so blatantly anti-woman.
Well, it's one of the reasons I mentioned, too. The Pope is anti-female.
Yeah, he's a pain in the butt for me, and I think he's given a lot of us a lot of problems. And I listened to your last caller who was, promoting the Pope's visit for financial reasons and, liking it to some sort of football extravaganza. And I have to take issue with that because I really think that the Pope is somewhat of a twit, and he does do a couple of good things maybe a year, but the rest of the things he does is counterproductive to the kind of life that I would like to lead. And I'm sorry for all the Catholics that follow him that have to live up to his expectations, because I think it's rather sad.
Well, that's even the more amusing thing. Only a handful of Catholics do live up to the Pope's expectations. The rest of them are in degrees of his expectations.
That's true. That's true.
I thank you very much.
Hey, thanks a lot for your time. You've given me a lot of it, and I really appreciate it. And
My
welcome
pleasure.
back.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye.
The telephone numbers to put you on the air with Bob Lassiter are in Hillsborough, 224-0057. In Pinellas, 393-0057. And anywhere else statewide, call 1-800-330-0057.
Three minutes after the hour of 9 o'clock. The lines are full. Obviously, I'll let you know as openings come up. Clearwater, you're on the air at WPLP.
Oh, hi, Bob.
Hi.
I was beginning to think you had a new female talk host. I want to make...
Oh, it was her dime.
Yeah.
Long-distance call.
Pardon?
Long-distance call.
Yes, it was. I understood that. I just want to make 2 short statements on this Pope's visit to Florida.
Mm-hmm.
I hope your listeners don't waste their money calling Tallahassee or writing to Tallahassee. The Vatican has an embassy in Washington, and I can give you the phone number. It only costs you like 25 to 40 cents.
Go ahead.
You can get the message. All you have to do is just say, give the Pope the message, bring his own $1 million. The number in Washington is 1-202-333-7121. And that's the Vatican Embassy. And if they want to write, all they have to do is write Vatican Embassy, Washington, D.C., 20037. And it's under 40 cents for just a short message that they want to give. And it will be passed on to the Pope. And the other message on all this, Latin, Spanish, and Swahili, or whatever else, what are the languages are dominating our cities and our airways?
I don't think we have an awful lot of problem with Swahili, but...
Well, not yet. Well, anyway, I think we had better send out a SOS for David Duke, because he has warned us that we're going to lose our rights, and which is gradually moving up on us. So I think we had all better give David a call, David Duke. Are you going to have him back on your show soon?
Not to the best of my knowledge.
He has not contacted you?
No, don't think he would. Don't think he enjoyed himself the last time.
Pardon?
I don't think he enjoyed himself the last time.
Well, your listeners did. We enjoyed it. It was a good show.
Okay.
So anyway, that's my 2 messages.
Okay.
Night.
Night. Swahili, huh? St. Petersburg, welcome to WPLP.
Good evening, Mr. Lassiter.
Oh, my God, it's Rocky. Hello, Rocky.
How you doing tonight?
Fine. Yourself?
I'm doing real good. Man, I wish you'd have...
Getting a lot of airtime, Rocky.
Well, you know, I had to call a certain somebody today to set him straight. The man is talking in one way out of his mouth and the upside side of his brain, and the man's on drugs, I believe.
You think so?
I believe he is on drugs. You know, I'm going to tell you something right now. You made a statement earlier today, and
wait a minute. I don't think Chuck Harder's on drugs.
I didn't call him.
Oh.
I'm talking about Ellery.
Oh,
I
heck.
don't want to mention any names, but you made me spill the beans. You know, sometimes you'd like to stay up all night long, drinking whiskey all the way up to 2 o'clock in the morning. You've heard Mick Jagger say it before. I love to spill the beans with you till midnight. But we ain't got time sometimes. Let me tell you what's happening. You know, I called the man talking about the Cubans down here. You know, I was born in Miami, okay? That's my home. I was run out of there. I mean, I could stay there, but I ain't going to learn how to speak that gizmo, okay? I'm going to learn. I ain't going to speak none of that gizmo talk. I hear that every time I go to Disney World. And another thing, you know, let me tell you, you went out and bought a bunch of furniture.
Yes.
You should have. I wish I'd have known you was going to do that because, man, you made a grave mistake.
Oh?
You know it's made of poplar. They don't put coil springs in furniture anymore. They use synthetic webbing. The material's full of olefin.
Well...
Why didn't you get some Louis the 16th or some Victorian furniture or some Empire?
Well, this is imported furniture.
From where? High Point, North Carolina, or Hickory?
Italy.
Oh. Pressboard, huh?
No.
That's not... Hey, make no mistake about it. The man of the hour is here. Dusty Rhodes is not here. I'm here. Elvis Presley is dead. John Wayne's gone. Hey, what have you got left? You got me out here. You got people like me. There's a few of us left. David Duke. All right, David Duke. The man's running for president. Through his robe in the ring, no, the man ain't going to get elected. He ain't got a chance of a marble in a pie factory.
Through his robe in the wing?
That's right.
Wouldn't it have been, wouldn't it have been a little bit more appropriate?
He tried to denounce.
Wouldn't it have been a little bit more appropriate to say through his hood in the ring?
Well, he threw both of them in there. I'm going to tell you right now, the man ain't got a chance because they got too many communists. We got this Pope over here ain't nothing but a communist, and his robe ain't no better than mine.
Don't you sometimes get the Pope kind of mixed up with one of your fellow...
No.
No.
I always
especially
see
when he has the miter on.
Drives around in some weird-looking vehicles.
Yes, he does.
And
He's very poor chasing
down
cars.
The ground and tries to screw the ground. You know what I mean? I mean, you know, sometimes you get pretty horny. And I'll tell you what, you don't get a little bit of nookie every once in a while. Maybe we'd all drop down to our knees in the Polish soil and jump up and down. I don't know. I've never talked to the man about that.
Well, what have you talked to him about?
I've never talked to the Pope, but I'd love to do it.
What would you?
Man.
What would? Maybe he's listening tonight. What would you say to the Pope?
Well, first of all, he needs to change his image.
Change his image?
He's too humdrum. He's like George Bush. I'd love to see the man grow a beard and get a pair of dark sunglasses and change the way he walks. Don't try to walk like Gina Lola Brigida. It won't work. Hey,
have you ever tried to walk in a white cassock, Rocky?
Stands? Hey, you see how Dolly Parton stands, right? She's got one hand on her hip and the other one's kind of turned the other way.
Does Dolly have hands?
To the crotch. That's no way for the Pope to walk. Don't get the Pope mixed up with Dolly Parton.
Oh, I doubt that I would.
Hey, look, the Pope's got no business in this country. If he has a message to give to the American people, if he wants to speak about Catholicism, do it by the news media. Let him get on the Ted Koppel show. Let him get on the Johnny Carson show. If Jim and Tammy Faye Baker could work a deal with this guy, they could all get together, and they could probably get their ministry back, because all these Catholics from Rome to Singapore would probably get together and say, look, we're going to put this show together, we're going to do it, and come on, let's watch it. They'd have the biggest ratings they've ever had in their entire system.
You know, I came to a conclusion for probably about the 19th time about you today.
You came to a conclusion?
A conclusion.
Did you hear me on David Fowler's show today?
Oh, Fowler's show? What? You hit both Fowler and Ellery?
Did you hear me talk about Salvador Dali?
No, I didn't.
Well, I thought you might have been talking about my love of art.
No.
I was talking about Rembrandt and Salvador Dali.
No, you're a put-on, Rocky. I'm convinced of it.
I'm glad
you're
you do.
You're a troublemaker.
I'm glad you do. That's what I want. You see, I could come on like David Duke, or I could be... I could
you
come
might
on
be
like
David Duke for all I know.
You want me to... Hey, let me tell you what. I can play both parts, okay?
You can play many parts.
I can come on and I can act like real radical, but there's going to be one big problem. There'll be one big problem. I don't want to say what that problem is, but I can do it. You want me to sound like a real racist? You want me to do it? You want me to forget about the possum pie? You want me to forget about the Jack Daniels whiskey? You want me to talk about facts? You want me to come on here and talk about who I really hate? You want me to use that black word that black people don't like? Huh? I can do it.
Rocky, all I want you to do is to be yourself. I want you to feel at home.
You don't want me to be myself. I'd offend too many people out here. You see, I realize there's a lot of people listening, and I don't want people to hate me. I'm trying to help all these people out here, but they have to realize this. They don't think I'm for real because I don't get on here and preach the old country boy, Wizard of Oz type of attitude. But I can do it, and I'll
Wizard of Oz?
Demonstration if you want me to.
I don't know too many country boys who are into the Wizard of Oz.
I'll give you a demonstration. You want me to give you a demonstration?
Go for it, Rocky.
Okay, Mr. Lassiter, let me tell you something. Like I said, I was run out of Miami. I'm going to be run out of the state of Florida, and I predict you won't be here in 30 years because of the niggers and the Jews. The Jews want one thing. The niggers, I hate niggers. And the niggers, they're being prophesized by the Jews. They're being controlled by the Jews and using communistic tactics. When Bill Crosby in 1965 come on TV, and all the niggers that were in love with him, including the nigger panthers, I call them, come on and come up with this little scam and said, look, we're going to try to get together. Martin Luther King was nothing but a bigot and a racist. I'll admit it. I'm a racist. I don't like niggers, I don't like Jews, and I don't like Catholicism, and I think all of it is going to destroy this country. And it's not because of the money. You yourself are going to be sorry someday when the black man has took your job, took over that radio station, and is probably already being run by the Jews, You can hardly say anything about Jews on the radio or the television because the Jews control the whole situation. And here I'm sitting here talking about David Duke. No, the man ain't got... I'll admit it. The man is wasting his time, wasting his money. That's ridiculous. You got the whole Rainbow Coalition. You got all the niggers. You got all the Jews. You got all the spicks. You got all the Italian gangsters. And you think they're going to back the man? No.
How about the Irish?
If he got anywhere near it, they'd rub him out.
How about the Irish?
I'm an Irishman and an Englishman myself.
Oh, so they're okay.
A little bit of Scotch in me. I'm a true American.
Sounds like you got a lot of Scotch in you.
I'm a true American. And the nigger movement out here is going to just, they're nothing having but multiplying like flies. Half your light bill you're paying for some nigger on the south side that is too lazy to get out of the bed to go to work because he's going to come up with this bull crap. Oh, my ancestors was in slavery. They talk about, hey, I'm going to tell you something right now. I don't like niggers, but I'm going to tell you something right now.
Funny, the last time we chatted, you said you had nothing against them.
I said I didn't hate them. There's a big difference. If I have to explain that to you, I will. But let me tell you something.
Well, you just got finished saying you did hate them.
I do hate them. I hate the Jews.
Very confused.
I hate the Jews. I don't like Jews. I don't like niggers, and I don't like spicks. I don't like Italians.
Well, what,
hey,
Rocky?
Geraldine Fiaro.
Rocky.
Yeah.
Calm down a second. What constitutes a spick?
To me, a spick is any spick. Any spick.
Well, could you possibly be a little bit more explicit?
All right. Spanish people.
Uh-huh.
I call Spanish people spicks. Now, see, you wanted me to spill beans.
How about somebody from Brazil?
I don't like spicks from Brazil.
But they're not Spanish. They're Portuguese.
I don't like no foreigners. Let me tell you right now, if you ain't from England, if you ain't from Ireland, you ain't from Scotland, you ain't from Wales, you ain't from Germany, you ain't nothing. And you got no business in the United States of America.
France doesn't count?
All right, France is okay.
How about Denmark?
Denmark's okay.
Finland?
Finland's okay.
Sweden?
Sweden's okay.
Austria?
Poland's okay. Belgium's okay.
Australia?
Australia's okay.
Canada?
Canada's okay.
Even with their quarters?
What?
Even with their quarters?
Yeah, that's okay. Quebec's okay.
How about somebody from, like the Fiji Islands? Would that be?
No way.
No.
They got no business here. They're like flies. They're like roaches. They've got no business being. See, I try to be nice. I come across as a clown, I know. I try to be nice. I try to relate my message. But you wanted me to spill the beans. All right. I don't like any of them weirdo people coming in our shore. They got no business in this country. They come over here and read the Constitution. They learn all these rules. They pay taxes, and they think they're going to hold their head up in the high and go around telling everybody they're just as good as I am. They're not. They're inferior. That's the biggest problem I have with niggers and Cubans. They're an inferior race of people.
What makes them inferior?
They don't have the mentality to do the things that white people do. The only thing they can do is play football, baseball, and sit around on a basketball court and talk about the coach told me. I've heard niggers coming on the television saying from a college, but the coach asked me. He doesn't say ask, he says ask me to do this.
Well, and maybe he was cut
for college.
Maybe he was one of the people that was cut, and he was talking.
What is it?
Maybe he was one of the people that was cut from the team. The coach
Let
asked
me tell you something. I don't normally use that word nigger, but I did that.
Seems to roll off your tongue very freely.
What?
It seems to roll off your tongue very freely. It doesn't appear to be a word that...
But I don't normally use it on the air. I try not to use it normally on the air.
Why?
Why?
Yeah.
Because I try to come across as an American person that you're listening to that thinks just like it. I'm in a mainstream America. And I wish you'd let more people.
Have I ever stopped anybody, Rocky?
What?
Have I ever stopped anybody?
But you don't like that word. The Confederate flag offends you.
Yes, it does.
Here you are, man.
Any foreign flag offends me when it's being waved by one of my fellow countrymen.
The Confederate flag offends you, and how in God's name would I think to call you up and use the word nigger? I think a nigger is a nigger, okay? I don't believe in slavery. I think they should all be deported immediately.
Rocky, do you think it's a word I've never used?
Yes, you've used the word nigger.
Do you think it's a word I've never used in vain?
But you've always said that you're the talk show host, and you can use words that other people can't.
When I'm off the air, Rocky, do you think it's a word I've never used in vain?
I would say you probably have used the word off the air in vain.
Yes, I have, many times.
I think most people have, but I think very few people would admit it. I'm spilling the beans tonight. I'm frustrated, and I don't like all these Cubans and niggers in this area, and I'm going to tell you right now, all these white people living here and all these northern liberal people, they're just helping them along. This is nothing but a communist plot to disrupt and destroy this country. Russia's just going to come over here and help destroy this place through the Negro breed.
Well, you do understand that communism is a relatively recent phenomena, but blacks and Jews have been around a long time, Rocky.
That's true, but that's got nothing to do with time.
So what kind of conspiracy was it prior to communism? Since we've had...
In the beginning, it was the sorry people here that were too lazy to get up out of bed that had to have the niggers do their work for them and did it for nothing. I didn't have anything to do with bringing the niggers over here, and I'll tell you what, I'm not for keeping them here, okay? I don't like Mr. Lassiter on level with you. I've tried to be a nice guy ever since I called this radio station, but I have spilt the beans tonight. I don't like niggers. I don't like calling them colored people. I'd love to be able to call them niggers, but I'm not allowed to on the radio. People don't like that. People don't like the word nigger because it offends people. But I'm not a nigger, and I don't care. And I don't care if they get on here and call me honky, cracker. That don't bother me. I don't care what the niggers say. But I want the niggers out there, if there's any of them listen, I got a message for you. I don't care. I don't care. I don't want to mix with you people. I don't want to live next door to you. I'm sick and tired of turning on the television and seeing you all over the TV doing these stupid commercials advertising yogurt and peanut butter and Jell-O. I'd rather see a white guy on there doing it. And they do it just to pacify the spooks. They've got no business on the radio. They've got no business. Well, I won't say that. They've got a perfect right to express themselves. I'm for freedom of speech, but I'm getting sick and tired of this affirmative action. You hear me?
Yes.
I don't like...
Not had any trouble hearing you so far.
I don't like niggers, and I am sick of them. They make me sick to my stomach. When I see them, I could just throw up. They make me sick. I call this radio station, and I'll tell you, I can look back, and I can say, if I heard me on the radio, say, this is a complete buffoon. He sounds like an idiot. But I have spilt the beans tonight. No more. Alice Cooper said no.
Well, Rocky, let me ask you.
Alice Cooper said no, Mr. Nice Guy. All right.
Rocky,
Right.
Why have you chosen tonight to spill the beans?
Because I have had a mouthful. We're running out of time is the problem. We got to have someone on this airway that'll express. There's some people out here that think like I do. Okay? Somebody's got to come on here and express ourselves. I've come on here and said the word colored people, the blacks. You know what that did to my insides?
No, Rocky, what did it do to your insides?
It made me sick. I wanted to use the word nigger, and I wasn't allowed to. And that's what they are, is niggers. And they're going to tear this country apart. And these white northern liberals down here that try to put on and act like they love everybody from Boston and all this, all their kids go to a private school. They're the ones talking behind their backs. And
well, Rocky,
they're in the political ring.
Rocky, let me ask you for a definition for the word nigger.
Well, in Webster's dictionary, it means anybody with dark skin. That's what Webster says.
Well, what does it say in Rocky's dictionary?
Well, when I'm driving in my truck, or if I see one on TV, to me a nigger is a dark-skinned, kinky-haired, ignorant piece of garbage. That's what a nigger to me is. That's what a nigger to me is. Now, there's white people I don't like, but that don't mean they're niggers. There's always hope for them. They can change.
Rocky, didn't I hear you say a week or so ago on possibly David Fowler's show that you were doing some work with black youth?
Black youth?
Yeah, didn't I hear you say that?
I have never worked with any black youth. I've worked with white youth.
Corrected.
I've worked with white youth, but never any black. I wouldn't work with any black youth. Those people are incapable of learning. How can I couldn't. You can't help those people. They're hopeless. They're pacified. They're content with their lifestyle.
You do, of course, realize that you're painting with a very broad brush, Rocky, and that there are many black people who
yes, there are many black people that
have done things that even you would have to admire.
Yeah, there's Michael Jackson and Diana Ross and a few others that are very famous. And
no, I was thinking more in terms of people whose names wouldn't mean anything to anybody, but who have
Mark Beasy,
made considerable strides in computer science, or perhaps in medicine, or accounting.
Gee, where did they learn that, Mr. Lassiter?
Probably the same place that white people did, at school.
Right. And why are they in those positions?
Well, I think, Rocky, the point is...
Them there. They were forced to be
Rocky,
in those
I think the point is that that would seem to prove that they're quite capable of learning if given an opportunity, wouldn't you think?
No, it has nothing to do with it at all.
Well, what does it have to do with?
It has to do with affirmative action, Mr. Lassiter. That's like your radio station down there. You're all white. All you talk show people are white.
That's correct.
But I'm going to tell you something right now. When 10 years from now, when you get enough northern liberals in here, and you've got enough of them now, when you get enough Jews in here, and enough niggers, I'll tell you what you're going to have. You're going to have a black talk show host sitting up there on this behind.
Actually, there's one that I've recommended. Recommended him 6 months, a year ago.
In the least.
Man in this market, who you've talked with him.
I'm sure I've talked to him before.
It's quite good. Quite good. Better than most people on the air right now.
But you made me spill the beans. I let it out tonight, Mr. Lassiter. I don't like niggers. Okay? I got no use for them at all. And I think they should be deported. They have no right to stay here. They're trespassing.
You of course, Rocky, do realize that many black people's ancestry goes back further than yours in this country.
I don't believe that.
Well, Rocky, there are black people who can trace their ancestry back in this country over 400 years. Can you?
Yes, I can, Mr. Lassiter. I sure can. My relatives helped build this country, and what I'm dealing with is a group of people out here that are going to destroy in the same place I'm trying to stay. That's what I don't like. You're trying to figure out what the problem is. The problem is half my taxes, my light bill, my water bill, I'm paying for them people. I'm paying for a free ride. I'm paying for all these welfare recipients. Hey, there is no such thing as people out here, these white people out here, they've all got a mess of kids. They've at least got all 12 kids apiece. Because what they're doing, they're paying for all these niggers to bring their kids. They're paying for the niggers' schooling, they're buying the niggers' clothes, and the whole thing. That's the problem, Mr. Lassiter. You want to know what the beef is with me and the black people? The beef is I love this country. And I feel like my hands are tied. We're going to lose it, Mr. Lassiter. Can't you get that through your thick skull? We're going to lose this place. And the communists and the blacks are going to the communists for ideas, for financial gain. The NAACP is being backed by the Communist Party.
Well, Rocky, I think I'm a little confused here. Let me see if I can't clear something up. I'll probably have to paraphrase, but it's my understanding that, in your humble opinion, the blacks or niggers, as the case may be, are stupid.
They're inferior.
They are inferior. They are dumb. They are lazy.
They're very lazy.
They can't be taught anything.
And they have taught white children how to use drugs.
Well, wait a second. If all of that is true, if these dumb, lazy, stupid, ignorant, uneducatable black people niggers are running all around, how are they going to take over if they're so stupid, Rocky?
The communists. See, the communists are behind this black movement in this country. They're going to cause havoc in this nation, and once enough havoc is created, once they have drained our economy, the communists aren't going to fire a shot. They're just going to walk in here, and basically they'll come unnoticed. This is like this gun control. You know,
Rocky,
the reason they want gun control...
Rocky, if the place is going to be overrun with these dumb, stupid, ignorant, ill-educated, et cetera, niggers, if they have taken over the country, I suppose when they do that, they're going to ruin everything, right? Ruin all the industry, the farms, the whole bit, right?
No.
Well, how could people who were dumb and stupid and lazy possibly keep the thing running, Rocky, when they take over? They couldn't, could they?
Circular strife.
Circular strife? What is circular strife, Rocky? It's a term I'm not familiar with.
Circular strife is when you have a game plan to bring in a movement to a society to cause massive confusion and just limited bounds to destroy, to get economic gain, and then the opposing party steps in.
But again, Rocky, I refer you back to something that you had said earlier about all these dumb, stupid, lazy people taking over. If they take over, they're going to ruin whatever it is they take over, correct?
No. See, that's where the circular...
Well, maybe they're not so dumb and stupid and lazy.
That's where the circular boundary comes in. They're doing it with communist tactics. You can destroy a lot with money. Hey, look, I could walk up to the Statue of Liberty and drop a bomb. That doesn't take a whole lot of intelligence to blow it up, but it took a lot of brains to build it. You know, building
Rocky?
Something is one thing, but tearing it up is something else.
Rocky?
Yes.
Statue of Liberty was built in France.
I know it was built in France. It was a gift.
Okay.
But I really believe that someday that the niggers will blow that Statue of Liberty up. I've heard them call your show and said the 4th of July don't mean nothing to them.
Of course, you know that the statue, or the French, are very closely related to the Spanish and the Italians.
Oh, they're not related at all. You take a good old Frenchman that ain't been mixed over the years. Like, you see, at one time, the Cuban race was a very light-skinned person. You take a good, full pedigreed Spaniard. They're not mixed. They ain't got a lot of nigger blood in them. And they ain't got a lot of Jewish blood in them. You see, the biggest problem with the Jews is they're greedy. And they'll kill and murder and maim for nickels. That's the problem you have with the Jewish race.
Uh-huh.
They don't care about people.
Uh-huh.
They were the, I really believe...
But you care about people.
Do I what?
You care about people.
I care about some people.
Some people.
Yeah.
Well, I guess the Jews care about some people.
Well, we all care about some people. Some people I have no use for. You see, I've called you lots of times. I've called all these radio stations lots of times. And I have never been so blatant as I have been tonight.
Well, that's true.
But I'll tell you right now, I have no use for the nigger race. I have no reason or rhyme for the Jewish race or any foreigners coming into this country should be deported immediately. They have brought this disease AIDS in over here. This is a nigger disease that they got in here by practicing some of their niggers were put there, they mixed, and then you got the Puerto Ricans. This is how the Cubans were formed. You see, we're creating new species that we never had before. We're creating new problems. Just think if there were no black people in the United States of America tonight, people. Just think how lovely it would be. Probably you would not lock your doors tonight. You'd have twice the amount of money to spend on your children and do whatever else you wanted to do. You would not have to worry about mass murderers. You would not have to worry about the black and white situation. You would not need organizations like the NAACP or the National Advancement for White People headed up by David Duke. You wouldn't need Robert Sheltons. You wouldn't need Rocky, the rock and roll Klansman. You wouldn't need terrorist groups. You wouldn't have to have people living in seclusion in their own boundaries. I think it's a shame when you live in a country and you have to lock your doors. You have to have things like police departments to keep the law and order in hand.
You know, Rocky, I can't help but get the feeling if you didn't have the Jews and the niggers, or the jiggers and the news, as I started to say, if you didn't have them to hate, Rocky, I can't help but feel, darn it, you'd find somebody else.
No, we wouldn't. It's not fun, Mr. Lassiter, being in the Klan. It ain't fun. It's nothing great. There's nothing fun about it. I don't think I'm a hero. I think it's a shame that an organization has to exist to monitor and police. It's just like a covert action. I compare us to the Oliver North. People talk about Oliver North. Well, I don't want to get on another subject. I don't want to get too broad here. I want to stick to this problem that we're talking about with the niggers. The biggest problem in the United States is the niggers and air pollution and water pollution. These are our biggest troubles.
What happened to the Jews?
States.
What happened to the Jews and the commies?
Well,
Are they behind water and air pollution?
The Jews, Mr. Lassiter. A black man is nothing but a communist in disguise. He's being led by the Communist Party. Sure, you have all these blacks that say, oh, I fought in the Vietnam War and I fought in World War II. Sure. But what a better way to disguise a movement.
Well, I don't know, Rocky. Let me see if this makes any sense to you. Now, all the commies really have to offer are, identification cards, I guess, so you can be a card-carrying commie. And, cheap red wine and a lot of, standing around shouting slogans. It's not really an awful lot to offer a person. But, capitalism, as an example, where you would own your own home, maybe have a couple of cars, a color television set, maybe a few shares of stock, a couple of bucks in the bank. Seems to me that capitalism would have so much more to offer the black people. And wouldn't you think that we'd be able to win them back from those godless commies if we kind of, sort of brought them into the capitalistic system and the way of life?
Oh, not at all. You see, you're blinded by what's going on. You see, I've enlightened you tonight, and many of the listeners, what's going on with this black movement, nigger movement.
Well, you see, but Rocky, I don't think you heard me. You see, the commies don't have that much to offer them. Just, a lot of slogans.
They don't want to offer them anything, but stop and think, what do we have to offer?
Cheap, shoddy furniture and small apartments and long lines for toilet paper and that kind of stuff. Even the black people use toilet paper. And the capitalists, it would seem to me, should have so much more to offer the blacks if only they try.
That's true, but the problem is it's not like that, Mr. Lassiter. That's a fantasy. That's a fantasy.
Yeah, I guess it is, huh?
We're going to lose this country, people. I'm talking to you, Mr. Lassiter. I'm talking to the listeners.
Rocky, I think you might be right. I think we are going to lose this country.
We're going to lose the country.
Yeah.
Because of being bled by all these special interest groups, by the Jesse Jacksons, by the Mark Beaseys,
David
by
Dukes.
the Turners. Now, David Duke is trying to save the country.
He's not a special interest group.
Yes, he is a special interest group.
I thought so.
I didn't say all special interest groups. I said some. Many. Most. There's a few that won't. I think it is a disgrace that we have to have our country come to the conclusion that it has. Every great country has fallen, Mr. Lassiter.
I think it's a disgrace, too, Rock.
Egypt. At one time, England was considered a superpower.
Yeah.
At one time, Egypt, Rome, these were great monuments. They were great countries. Greece, Rome, these were countries to be feared. At one time, in the 1930s, the United States was put on the top of the pedestal. They were a superpower. I have all the answers to all.
Of course, one of the things that helped bring down that English empire, don't you?
Yes, I know what brought down the English.
When they kind of started looking down their nose at the people they had enslaved to do their work for them and to enrich them, and they kind of looked down their nose, and then one by one, those people started to rebel and...
Yeah, see, I've made this statement
just
many
brought
times.
them right down,
The biggest mistake the United States ever made was bringing the niggers over here. Abraham Lincoln never intended for the nigger beast to vote. He never intended for the nigger to marry white women. He never intended for the blacks to come in at an eating establishment and slobber all over the table. He never intended for these people to take a free ride.
Rocky, you're absolutely right.
He had a plan.
Abraham Lincoln, you're absolutely right, Rocky. Abraham Lincoln had no love for the niggers whatsoever.
That's
none.
Right.
Abraham Lincoln wanted nothing. He didn't want to give the niggers anything. But Abraham Lincoln didn't believe there were niggers in this world. Abraham Lincoln just believed there were human beings, some of whom were a different color.
Well, that's not what I've read. If you've ever read the National White Gazette, Mr. Lassiter, I think your opinions might be expanded. And that's what we need to do with our minds in this consciousness, is expand our minds. You see, I know you love articulate people. You love for these northern liberal people to get on here and agree with you. Well, listen, I can't speak for the South.
Rocky, let's get something straight here. You have been on this program now for 32 minutes and 15 seconds, mark. I can't think of anybody who ever agreed with me who has had a total of 32 minutes, any one individual who's had a total of 32 minutes on this program because he agreed with me, let alone in one fell swoop. You've been on my program, Rocky, over the past 22 and a half months for hours.
But don't you agree with anything I've said?
You've probably had more airtime on this station than Jack Wheeler has had so far.
Now, Mr. Lassiter, Mr. Wheeler has his own show.
Yes, I appreciate that. That's what makes it such a significant statement.
He has his own show. I have not been on this program more than Jack Wheeler. I haven't called you in quite a while, Mr. Lassiter.
I appreciate that. It's been about 3-4 weeks. I was just thinking of that the other day.
You know, and I don't want to become a martyr. I don't want to become an anchor in the basin of a bastion. And this is what I was afraid of. You see, there are pillars of society, and then there are societies who try to destroy the pillars. And I am one individual who does not agree with mainstream America. Mr. Lassiter, sometimes I'm confused. Do you understand? Would you believe me if I told you sometimes I get confused?
Sure I would, Rocky.
You think sometimes that maybe some things I don't understand, and I don't know where to turn, and maybe just somehow I'm screaming for help?
Well, you see, Rocky, that's one of the things that makes you so compelling. You're so much like the rest of us. Rock, I'm fresh out of time. Gotta run.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Bob Lassiter Show continues following CBS News on News Talk 57. Serving the city of Tampa Bay, WPLP Pinellas Park, it's 10 o'clock.
7.5 minutes after the hour of 10 o'clock. Welcome back. Third and final hour for this Thursday night, July the 30th, 1987. Wasn't that a real treat to hear from Rocky? Bob Lassiter with you. I tell you, the lines are full in Pinellas, but drop-off city during the newscast in Hillsborough, so let me give the Hillsborough numbers. 224-0057, 224-0057, and it is an open program. Clearwater, hi, you're on the air at WPLP.
Yeah, hi. I would probably be calling from Hillsborough because I live in Tampa, but I'm at my boyfriend's, and he got me listening to your program, and I heard this jerk on the phone tonight. And it really upsets me.
Which one?
Rocky.
Rocky? Oh, yeah.
I think he's so prejudiced. I was raised in a very Catholic environment, and although I have differing beliefs, I just think he's very prejudiced. As much as there's black people abusing and people that have mental illness, there are white people that are the same way. And it makes me mad that he's so prejudiced and he comes across the same way.
Uh-huh.
And saying the same thing. And I totally disagree with what he's saying.
A lot of people feel the way Rocky does, Except they just don't have the guts to talk that way.
They're very close-minded, too. There's a lot of people that are of every race and every belief that probably differ in every way that he does and also have the same belief. But I just think that he's very close-minded is that if he can't open up his mind to reality and to life and the way the world is... it's sad. It really is. It made me...
Well, there was one thing that Rocky said that an awful lot of people would believe, and there might even be some truth to it. I refer you to what he was saying about if there weren't any blacks in this country, then people would probably be able to leave their doors open at night, have less crime, pay fewer taxes.
What about all the people that are white and from poverty level that break into houses, they don't care? What about all the foreigners that are not black, that come from Bangladesh and India and all the Asian countries that still abuse other people? The fact of the matter is that people hurt people, and that's what's sad about it.
Well, I appreciate what you're saying. What I was trying to point out is that many of Rocky's relatively simplistic views appear on the surface to make a great deal of sense.
Because he's very close-minded. He's got a point. There are a lot of black people that are abusive. but yet there are a lot of white people that are abusive, and there are a lot of Indian people and a lot of European people. I mean, it goes all ways, unless people open up their hearts and their minds to caring about each other, then yeah, they're going to abuse each other. And you talk about people coming from poverty levels. Sir, we see it all the time where I work. We do psychological testing. We see that they're off. They're not doing well. I mean, they have problems. And yet, you know, you still try to work with them. You still try to care. But you see, the way he comes across is so cold-minded and so hard that it really made me angry listening to what he had to say. And like I said before, I've only listened to your show a couple times because my boyfriend listens to your show. And when he came across, I got so furious, I said, I'm going to call. Because I just don't feel, I feel that everyone has problems. Everyone struggles. You and black people, white people, Indian people, yellow people. I don't give a damn what it is.
Well, Rocky seems to conveniently forget, and a lot of people who think the way Rocky seem to conveniently forget that.
It's because he's so prejudiced. He's so close-minded. And
well, what he's conveniently forgetting is that all of these social evils that he talked of, the crime, the laziness, et cetera, are problems of class, not problems of race. And even in his beloved England, Rocky seems to forget that even at the height of England's power, they had all of the same problems that we have today, even though they were all of the same race.
Well, no kidding. I mean, you can go back century after century. I mean, you can go to B.C. and, you know, talk about struggles that happened between Persian kings and this and this and this happening, you know, before Christ. I mean, you can go back all the way you want, but the fact of it is that we're living in 1987, and you know, I would think that the prejudice level wouldn't be so high as it is. And I've dealt with it myself. You know, I come from a very Catholic family.
What Rocky also seems to forget is that if this country were to become what he would like it to become, this white Anglo-Saxon paradise, that the white Anglo-Saxons in power would look down on Rocky, and Rocky would become the new nigger.
Well, it's not, you know, and that would be unfortunate, too, to tell you the truth.
Of course it would be. It's unfortunate that we have niggers of any color.
Well, I hate the fact that you use the word Negro, because if you use the terminology from today, to use the word Negro, it's a downcut. And I think that's really sad. I mean, if you say, people are black and white and yellow and green and whatever else you want to call them, but they're people and they still have feelings. They have values and morals, and they think the way they do. And I just think it's real sad that people today will step upon each other and not care and not listen. And I just think that's really sad. I mean, I hear it all the time. I mean, I work in the field of psychology. I hear it happen over and over, and I try to keep an open mind to all this kind of stuff. And I just think it's really sad.
I thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Bob.
Take care.
You too.
Bye-bye. Tampa, you're on there, WPLP.
Good evening, Bob.
Good evening.
You know, sometimes I wish you wouldn't have that guy on, because I find he makes no sense at all. I just find that he is looking for publicity. And, you know, he's probably an old guy, about 64, 65, you know, hoping for some sort of airtime because he has nothing better to do. I think you have a good program, but having him on, I turned you off at about 10:30-something, and turned it back on. And you gave up the line, so I figured I'd call in and, you know, talk about this guy. But I keep Rocky on for a very specific reason. Rocky makes us all very, very uncomfortable. Everybody that listens to this show, Rocky makes uncomfortable. And he makes all of us think, and he makes all of us examine ourselves. And I can't think of anybody that has ever called this program that does a better service than the man that I refer to as the Rock and Roll Klansman. Well, I don't believe he's serious.
I don't know whether or not he is.
No, I don't think he is. Because I've heard him on other stations before. He might be just doing this. I don't know if he uses the same term, Rocky, on other stations.
Yeah, that's the name that I gave him.
Oh. Well, I just want to make a little comment.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to
Bye-bye. One line open. It's in Hillsborough. St. Pete, you're on the air. WPLP.
Hi, I'm
Hi.
Linda. I'm calling in reference to your conversation with Rocky.
Uh-huh.
My typical white trash analysis of a person like that, to the fact that he refers to niggers just simply as people with dark skin, is a bunch of garbage.
Yeah? But it's real garbage.
Yes, it definitely is. Just because somebody has dark skin doesn't necessarily mean they should be termed as what he called a nigger. There are blacks, there are Negroes, and there's niggers, the same as there are whites and white trash. And the white group has just as much garbage as there are the black people.
No argument for me.
I think that Rocky is just, he's just a typical person in the white category that he terms these people, he makes bad situations, and it's not necessary.
Well, Rocky looks for trouble. Rocky looks for the worst.
And he's definitely looking for it now.
But there's some Rocky in all of us.
That's true.
That's why he upsets people so very much.
And he upsets me, and I am very white. And it makes me very angry to hear him, because there are a lot of blacks in this country that have made so much of themselves, and I guarantee you there are more blacks in this country that have probably made more of themselves than he ever will think about.
I can't answer that one way or the other. I simply have no way of knowing, but I think it might be a fair statement to say there are more blacks in this country who have given more
exactly
than he ever will.
The one thing that Rocky needs to think about is that the term nigger is not a term that refers to color. And he should seriously think about that.
We all should.
Definitely. There are a lot of blacks in this country that have given a lot to this country, and there are a lot more out there that will probably give a lot more to this country. And at the same time, it's people like him that cause so many problems between the whites and the blacks. And that's really all I have to say.
Well, you're quite right that it's people like Rocky that cause many of the problems between the whites and the blacks, but I would also hasten to point out to you that it's people like Rocky that also cause the rest of us to examine our consciences and make it a little bit easier world to live in for black and white.
That's probably true, except that I feel like people like him causes more problems than they do good.
I mean, I remember very well the first time Rocky called this program about 22 months ago when I was brand new in the market, and I was enraged, and I hung up on him, and I launched into an impromptu 10 or 15-minute monologue, just infuriated. I'd never heard anything quite like it in my life. I've led a sheltered life, I suppose. But I've since that time come to look at Rocky in a totally different view. I think Rocky does more to advance the cause of harmony between the races than he does to cause disharmony. The people who think like Rocky, their minds are already quite made up. The people who are on the fence, the people like myself, the people like many other people listening to this program who sometimes tilt back and forth because prejudice is an inherent human trait, we all have it, are shamed by Rocky. We're shamed by Rocky because he says many of the same things that we have said. He has many of the same views that we have had and still do to a degree, and he shames the hell out of people.
And he makes his mind is so definite. He has it made up so definite that all blacks, just because their skin is dark, that they're so bad. And they are not all bad. They're human beings the same as the white, the reds, the pink, the yellow, whatever. They are all human beings, and they all should have a chance in the world to do whatever. And there's bad in the whites, there's bad in the blacks, there's bad in any color that exists.
It's because color has nothing to do with human nature.
They're all human beings. And he has his mind made up that just because someone has dark skin and they're black, they are bad instantly. And that is not the case. And I think somebody should put him in his place. As far as I'm concerned, he's total white trash. And he should not be on the air to express his opinion as often as he wants to. Because it's people like that that causes so many problems.
Thank you much.
You're very welcome.
Good night.
Goodbye.
That's called good writing. St. Petersburg, Florida, with James Dickey. Hello.
Oh, James Dickey, when I find a spark of genius like yours, I mean, oh, boy, I've been so deep in depression that I had lacked the energy for suicide. But God put a flywheel in your head, and I am so happy to meet you. You're on a par with George Handel. I mean, wow. I've got a quadriplegic son who won national acclaim as a poet for Lucifer's Love Song, and you've got to meet him. So what's your address?
My address is the University of South Carolina English Department in Columbia, South Carolina.
University, South Carolina.
That'll get right to me.
Hey, thank you, baby. You're going to hear from me. And Larry, Mad Dog Lassiter for a host.
Okay.
Petersburg. Hi, you're on the air at WPLP.
I'd just like to say that I'm from the Deep South. I lived many years in Charlotte, Amalie, St. Thomas, and I lived many years in...
That's pretty far south.
I beg your pardon?
That's pretty far south.
Not kidding, but I'd rather live with any of them down there than with that white trash that you let us take over the air for 30 minutes.
Race relations in Charlotte, Amalie aren't very good. If you live there, you know that.
Well, they're still better than... I never run across one down there like this one up here that was talking on the radio.
No, you run across black counterparts down there.
I didn't. I did not. And like I said, I went to church with them, and I knew them, and I still go down there every year and spend about a month, and I have never run across... Well, of course, you're going to find the soul segment, but it's not like this thing was talking on the air. Did you ever find it that way when you were down there?
Yes, I did.
Well,
matter of fact, there's considerable discrimination.
The job market where I just go as a previous resident.
Of course, one of the astounding things about living in St. Thomas is that the native black population despise the mainland American black population probably more than any redneck does up here.
You're right there. But the point is, it is not all directed to just the white person.
No, they're equal opportunity bigots.
Well, like I said, you were in the job market where I was just as a former resident.
Mm-hmm.
And I have not found it so down there. I mean, I know the Crickets, I know the Lockharts.
Well, the truth of the matter is that bigotry and prejudice exists everywhere, in every society, in every country, in every city, in every hamlet throughout the entire world.
But not like this white trash has got it up here that takes over the radio. And I just think that it's a shame that you waste your airtime with such as that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Take care. Tampa, you're on there at WPLP.
How you doing, Bob?
Fine.
Calling about Rocky.
Uh-huh.
I don't think his views are very, very straight. You know, he got this one-sided way of looking at things. You know, and I don't know. He's just a very prejudiced person.
Yes, he is.
You know, because I mean, it's true what he said. They brought black people over. You know.
Well, there's a shred of truth in everything he had to say.
But you know, when you think about it, we didn't ask to come here. You know, the black people, my ancestors didn't ask to come here. Okay. They went abroad and got us. And brought us over here and made us go out and pick their cotton, iron their clothes, clean their house, cook their food. You know, we didn't ask for that. And him talking about us being deported, you know, that's funny. That's very funny. And I'm prejudiced too.
Everybody is.
We all are, to a certain extent.
Best you can do is try to fight it.
That's right. That's right. Because this is the world. We have to live in this world as one. You date back history. You know, the Indians. The white people took what the Indians had. They didn't ask them for it. They took it. Okay, you follow me?
Uh-huh.
You go back to Western days. Okay, when they had the cowboys and the Indians. Okay. The Indians were always fighting the whites to keep them from taking their land.
Well, Rocky's beloved white Anglo-Saxon Protestants have a very long history of stealing from anybody and anyone.
Yeah, I know. You know. And then you go back history to Egypt time. Okay? Timbuktu. You know, you go back that far. You go back to when Cleopatra Jones, she was dark skinned. Or was she considered a nigger? I mean, does he consider her a nigger?
I'm sure he would.
You know? You look at the pyramids and things that were built. They were built by dark-skinned people. Egyptians.
Color of skin has nothing whatsoever to do with intelligence or ability.
That's right.
Nothing.
That's right. You have people. Yeah, you got black people that are just totally outrageous. You know. You got some black people that are very dumb. You got some white people that are very dumb. You got some Spanish people that are very dumb. You know. So it's not just one race of people. We are not inferior people.
I think that most people are intelligent enough to realize that.
Right.
While there is a lot of Rocky in all of this, there are very few Rockies in this world.
That's true, too.
Too many, but very few.
Yeah. I just think, you know, I listen to WPLP in the daytime. And just by coincidence, I was listening to WFLA, and they wasn't talking about nothing, so I flipped over. You know, and then I hear him with all this screaming and shouting about the niggers this and the niggers that. You know, and, you know, like you said, it makes us think, makes us look at one another and, you know, ourselves and think.
Well, the day that Rocky stops making people uncomfortable is the day that he will no longer be a welcome caller.
He shouldn't be one now, you know. But then, like you said, you got a point. You got a point.
I thank you.
For one specific reason.
Thank you much.
All right, then, Bob.
Good night.
Bye.
St. Petersburg, hi. You're on the air at WPLP.
Oh, Bob, I hear these guys on WFLA all day. The airways aren't only for them. They're for white people or Rockies or other people, too, not just for them to spouse off what they want.
I believe that's the first black caller I've had all night.
What?
I said I believe that's the first black caller I've had all night, to the best of my knowledge.
Yeah, but if you listen to fa-la-la all day long, you'll see that that's all there's over there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and they jump on the bandwagon, all of them together.
Really?
Yeah, now.
Oh, birds of a feather, you know.
Yeah, well, whatever. You know, they say the Spanish are taking over Miami, but they're doing the same thing in Tampa.
Really?
That's right. And I don't only think they're niggers, I think they're cannibals. And Rocky's right. Hooray for Rocky.
Why would you say cannibal?
Well, because that's the way they talk. They're ferocious. On your program last night...
I thought cannibal meant, you know, someone who ate other human beings. I didn't know it was a way of speaking.
They're all but that. They're all but doing that. And,
really? I've not heard that.
And I heard last night with Tim Coles on your show, I couldn't believe what I was hearing out of their mouth. And that's all right, though. They can have the airways.
What were you hearing last night with Tim Coles?
Well,
I didn't hear the program.
Oh, you didn't hear it?
No.
Well, there was one colored man that called telling him what he was, that he all but called him a racist, that he never said anything good about the blacks and that they're all on welfare. And then this woman called up.
Well, Tim does have a tendency to generalize.
What?
Tim does have a tendency to generalize.
Well, I guess Tim's the only one that does do any generalizing on both the stations. WP.
No, he's not the only one, but he's one of them.
And, I mean, people, it's a two-way street, you know. You don't have them coming on and talking and saying everything they want to say and then not get a rebuttal on it. So I'm rebuttaling on it, and I'm glad Rocky called tonight, and I'm glad what he said, and I agree with him, and I'm
glad what he said. It sounds to me like cannibal talk.
Well, I think that these people deserve...
I'm glad you'd be there.
...he's getting, because what they're trying to do is take over this country, and they're doing it using the stupid whites to do it with.
The dumb, stupid niggers are taking over?
No, the niggers are smart. They only play stupid.
Well, I thought you said you agreed with Rocky.
What?
I thought you said you agreed with Rocky, so therefore you're in disagreement with Rocky. Well, now I'm very confused because Rocky said they were dumb and stupid. The dumb, stupid niggers are taking over?
No, the niggers are smart. They only play stupid.
Well, I thought you said you agreed with Rocky.
What?
I thought you said you agreed with Rocky, so therefore you're in disagreement with Rocky. Well, now I'm very confused because Rocky said they were dumb and stupid.
Well, they play stupid. They play stupid, and they're using...
So then you disagree with Rocky, because he said, it wasn't play acting, it was just the way it was. They were dumb and stupid.
In that sense, maybe I disagree with them, because I don't think they're as stupid as they're putting on. They're just using the stupid whites to win their place. And that's what they're doing. They're planning on a takeover of this
what do you think? What do you think it is that they're trying to take over? What do you think it is?
The country. The country. That's right. That's the Jesse Jacksons and the rest of them. And that's all I got to say.
You think they want to take over Bloomingdale's and things like that?
Well, they'll take that along with it.
Yeah.
Well, to me, they're still a bunch of niggers.
Lutz, you're on the air at WPLP. Oh, Lutz couldn't wait. Too bad. It was always one of our favorite callers on Lutz. Seminole, hi, you're on the air at WPLP.
Seminole?
Yes.
Yeah, well, this is Lynn. Bob, I've been trying since 9:38 to get you. Do you feel all right tonight?
I feel fine, thank you.
You do? Well, I just don't believe it. I can't imagine that you would let a man talk like he did that long and make...
Well, I've had Rocky on my program numerous times.
What?
I've had Rocky on my program numerous times.
I know you have, but that's the first time I've ever heard him. But when he made the remark about how the Pope walked, I thought that was about the most ignorant thing I had ever heard.
I thought Rocky said a number of ignorant things, too.
Yes, he did. But I just stayed on this. My arms broke from holding on to the phone so many times. But I do like your program. I haven't been able to hear you several times. I've been away for a few days. But please don't let anybody talk that long and run everybody down. If he thinks he's English, why don't he go back to England?
It's an interesting point.
Okay, son.
Thank you.
Okay, hon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Well, it's the first time anybody's called me son in a long time. One line open. It's in Pinellas, 393-0057. Brandon, hi. You're on the air at WPLP.
Oh, hi.
Hi.
I was calling about Rocky fellow.
Uh-huh.
I don't think he's making any sense about that. About calling each other niggers.
Uh-huh.
Because there's a lot of black doctors over here can cure what he has. And I don't think that's right.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just called him about him.
Okay.
If he's supposed to be a Ku Klux Klan or whatever, I don't think he should be on here talking like that about niggers. Because I know it's a lot of us trying to make something out of ourselves, and he shouldn't be talking like that about us.
Well, I know that an awful lot of black people are trying to make something of themselves, and I know that, at least in my humble opinion, virtually everything Rocky has to say is despicable. But again, I still stand by what I had said earlier, that I think Rocky makes us feel uncomfortable, and I think Rocky makes us think.
Well, I don't think you should have him on the radio anymore about that. That's all I have to say.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye. Tampa, you're on there at WPLP.
Hello?
Hello.
Hi, Bob?
Hi. Yeah.
Hello, how are you?
Fine, thank you.
Have you ever thought of being a psychologist?
No.
I think tonight would have been ideal to be a psychologist. I think you did a super job letting him talk. You know, I've got part Jewish in me, and, you know, I understood what you were doing. I really did.
I think most people do.
Well, not most people. You know, I thought, you know, like...
Don't confuse most callers with most listeners.
Pardon?
Don't confuse most callers with most listeners.
Okay, I won't. But you know what I was thinking? If Tim was on there, Tim would have cut him right off. You know how Tim is.
I don't think there's another person in the market that would have let him go on tonight.
No, I don't. But I know what you were doing. You were using psychology tonight. I know you were, because you were trying to find out how your listeners would react this man being on there so long, you know?
Oh, nonsense. I know. I've had Rocky on so many times, I always know how people are going to react.
Yeah, but usually, you know, like, I never really listen, you know, like, to your show. I have listened when I've been, like, on the interstate and that, you know, like, driving, because I find it very interesting, but because, you've changed around a few times, you know?
Yes, I've changed around a few times.
You have. You really have. And I'm from England, but I wanted to tell you, I was listening tonight to your show, and I thought, you know, I could figure out myself what Rocky really looked like, you know? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like walking around in a VA hospital or something, you know what I mean? Like, that's my impression of Rocky. You know what I mean? You know what I mean.
Yes, I do.
You know, like, really doped up and, like, talking, you know, like, saying all these things. And then you were waiting, like, for all your callers, you know, like, to call in and really, you know, get down on you, you know, and, like, about letting him talk so long. You know what I mean?
Yes, I think I do.
Okay. I just wanted to call you, you know, like, just, I think I knew where he was coming from. But I really don't like the person because I don't really know him, you know, but...
Well, before I say goodnight, I just want you to know one thing.
Yes.
I know what you mean. 10:41 the time. St. Petersburg, hi, you're on the air at WPLP.
Hello?
Hi.
Hi. Hello?
Hello.
Oh, hi.
Hi.
This is my first time calling, and I was just listening to the guy Rocky a few minutes ago. I mean, that was uncalled for.
Why?
Because, I mean, that would cause so much confusion.
How do you think it would cause confusion?
Because some blacks take that comment, a nigger, very hard. You know what I mean?
Yes, I do, but it's also a very common term used amongst black people as well.
Well, that's different.
Why is it different?
Because, well, you wouldn't understand. It's hard to explain, really.
I mean, one of the things that astounded me more than almost any other thing I've encountered in my life is that one time about, 15 years ago, I consulted in the takeover of a radio station in Norfolk, Virginia that was owned and operated by black people. And I was the only white person in the entire organization. And I remember sitting around the conference table in the morning just absolutely amazed that when a black person wanted to insult another black person, he called him a black nigger, which just amazed me.
Well...
And saddened me, too, by the way.
I know... He what?
And saddened me, too, by the way, I should point out.
I never heard a black person call a black person a black nigger.
No, not a white person. Another black person.
I said a black person.
You haven't? Well...
No, I never did.
Maybe I just hung out in a strange crowd of people. I hope so.
Well, I try not to, really.
It's a terrible word.
It's a lot of... That would start a lot of confusion because it's whites out there just as bad.
Sure there are.
That are just as bad as blacks. I mean, you don't have to... I mean, I can sit in my front door. I can sit at my house right now and leave my door unlocked. Sometimes I fall asleep every night and leave my door unlocked, and nobody has come in here.
Well, I'll tell you a little secret. When I first moved to St. Petersburg, when I lived in my old apartment, lock on the front door didn't work. I lived here for the first 9 months without ever locking my front door. Never bothered to get it fixed. Never had any problem.
Well, I don't feel like everybody has to have a chance. Have you heard the new commercials about, I thought you couldn't do it because you were black?
Yes, I have, from the Urban League.
Okay. You know, everybody deserves a chance, black, white, no matter what color you are.
I quite agree. Until they disprove themselves.
Right. Oh, well. Personally, I think Rocky is whole. Thank you.
Okay. Tragedy. 3 times she tried to say that, and 3 times I had to take it out. Lutz, you're on the air, WPLP.
How you doing?
Fine.
I wanted to talk a little bit about what Rocky said. Coincidentally, I found it very coincidental that you'd make reference to the fact that you've heard blacks calling other blacks in such a derogatory fashion. Because I had this past week tried to contact my attorney in Miami, and in doing so, I interrupted a phone call, or intercepted a phone call, and it was two black women, and that's exactly what they were calling each other. And I sat there and listened for a while, and then
I'll bet you did.
Then I spoke up, wondering if they could hear me, and apparently they could. And I said, listen to that racism coming from the people that cry most about racism. Then they started cussing me out for being a honky. I just laughed.
I thought they would have cussed you out for being an eavesdropper. But...
Well, it wasn't by design.
Just good fortune.
Huh?
Just good fortune.
I thought it was quite revealing of a hypocrisy that I thought was very interesting. Did you get my letter this week?
Yeah, I got it tonight.
Did you? Did you read the Presidential Executive Order 12333?
Give me a break. It's quite long. I just got it before I came on the air.
Have you got it in front of you?
No, I don't have it in front of me.
Okay. If you'll look on...
I'll get around to reading it tomorrow.
Okay. And I'd like to call you back on that, if that's okay.
Sure.
I would like to say that this guy, Rocky, makes me sick. I think some of the points he makes, to a degree, have validity.
I'll bet you do.
I think that his hate, there is no excuse for. I think we're all Americans, black, white, or yellow. And this idea of shipping people back really completely preposterous.
Sure, especially if they can be switched over to the Republican Party.
Well, I don't know what likelihood that would be. As long as...
No, it's real good for the Spics, apparently. They seem to be switching over in large numbers.
Well, if you're talking about the Cubans, yeah. I don't think that if you, amongst your... if you're talking about Hispanics, as you call them, Spics...
no, it's not how I call them. It's just a word I used.
If you're talking about your Mexican Hispanic, I think they're more along...
I don't know any Mexican Hispanics.
Are Mexicans Hispanic?
I don't personally have any.
Okay. But I think that in as much as crime goes, and listening to your radio station on a news recap and going to work last week, I heard, and they're talking about crime statistics, an assistant to the director of the FBI state that blacks commit 10 times more violent crimes than whites, though they constitute 10% of the population. So you're looking at a factor of 100. In as much as the issue of slavery goes...
Of course, they also constitute probably 10 times more people living in the poverty level, too.
No, I think that dollar for dollar, there are more white people living on poverty than there are blacks. Maybe on a per capita basis, you might be correct. But number-wise, that's...
Yes, but most of the white people living in poverty are living out in rural areas.
But I don't think, though, that poverty is what drives a person to crime necessarily.
Oh, really? Skin color does?
Well, my family was quite dirt poor from Macon, Georgia, and I think that their religious convictions would not allow them to go out and steal for what they wanted. So I think it goes a little deeper than this.
Well, what do you think is the cause?
I think to a degree the cause is because people pay lip service and give an excuse such as the one you just gave, which in a way tells them, what the heck, we've got some that are behind us and are willing to whitewash it for us.
Well, I feel reasonably confident. You see, I don't think I'm really causing a crime wave. The last time we checked, there were very, very, very few inner-city black youth standing on street corners listening to the Bob Lassiter show on Ghetto Blasters.
Well, I would say they're like, I don't think it can be disputed. There are clearly more poor white people than there are poor black people.
Yes, but the poor white people tend to live in very isolated areas out in the rural.
Well, in those isolated areas, I never saw any riots and burn down your town.
Well, that's because there isn't any town to burn down. You see, they're not living in crowded conditions as a general rule of thumb.
Now, I lived in Carrollton, Georgia, and if you're familiar with any of the small towns in Georgia, yeah, the bulk of your town is quite poor. I want to talk about the issue of slavery, if I could, real quick.
Sure.
You know, I hear this excuse that it's the white person's fault for slavery. Yes, granted, the whites brought the blacks over here, but it's a matter of fact that when the slave traders went to the Ivory Coast of Africa, they traded things such as cotton, etc., with black tribe leaders who in turn exchanged for cotton, slaves that they had from smaller tribes that they conquered. So,
yeah, I know the poor guys who own the ships. That's the only way they could possibly. It wasn't their fault. They would have, probably rather had silver or gold, but, they had to take human beings instead.
Well, a lot of these
poor
black
people.
Are you denying that black tribe leaders sold?
I don't think I did. I don't think I did in any shape, manner, or form.
Okay, so you do it.
I was kind of sympathizing with you. You see, I was feeling really bad for those ship owners who had to take those human beings in trade for their goods.
Well, now you're
I'm sure they would have much rather had.
In no way am I trying to justify what the whites did. If you're trying to imply that I'm trying to justify what the whites did.
Oh, give me a break. What do you mean trying to justify? Give me a break. Come on, what do you mean trying to justify? You're bending over backwards to justify.
All I did was state a fact which you acknowledged existed. So how does that imply anything other than what I've said?
It's an effort to bend over backwards.
Well,
take some of the guilt off
your listeners a little smarter
one group and put it on another.
And I don't know of any in talking about. And there are a lot of communists that are very active within the black community in trying to incite internal strife. Not to say that that's not the case also in the white community. And not all communists are card carrying. A lot of communists work under deep cover and are not about to admit that they're communists. That would defeat their purpose in working undercover. The